With Surge, it's got a floor price of $1, and then it's got a fixed yield of 15% at $1. So anyone selling Surge below $1 is selling it at a discount. If you buy it at that discount, you predictably know it will eventually go back to $1. So what this means is that Surge is a reflexive asset, and it trades like a rubber band. So as the price goes low, you could just picture a rubber band in your head and picture like stepping on that rubber band, right? The more violent it goes down, the more violent it will be when it goes back up, which means a higher profit and faster profit for anyone that buys it beneath the peg. So a lot of people wonder, well, how do you get a $1 floor price for Surge? Well, it's because Surge is collateralized by the Leo on the balance sheet, right? There's different ways to look at it. Like if you just want to sit back and do nothing, Surge is a great way to just sit back, wait for LSTR to go beyond $50 and earn yield while you wait. Announcements are out. Threadcast is being recorded. Mitch should join us soonish. And in the meantime, I will give you guys some updates on the Leoverse. There's been a lot. Actually, LeoStrategy, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but let's see if I can pull it up here. LeoStrategy released a new blog post. LeoStrategy. About the Surge launch. So might as well jump straight into this. And obviously, I will give my perspective on things. So Surge is officially live on cross-chain. That has been... I know in the works for quite some time. Let's see if I can get more in the camera. So that's been in the works for a while. A lot of things were needed to get that going, and it's there's so many different moving pieces and elements to what's gone live. I mean, let's just look at this post together, and we can see all the different things. So just to kind of list them off, and this they put it at the beginning of this post. So the Oracle went live. So that's at surge.oracle, which allows you to seamlessly bridge your Surge between Hive-Engine Surge and Surge on Base. The Surge USDC pool went live on Base. The Surge Leo pool went live on Hive-Engine. The cross-chain market maker went live. So that's market making the Surge Leo and Surge USDC pools. And Surge went live on LeoDex. So the LeoStrategy team worked with us, and we added Surge to LeoDex. So now you can actually trade Surge on there already with pretty much any assets. So you could try it out and try to quote out different assets. I mean, I think USDC on Base is probably the easiest, best solution in terms of getting the best slippage and whatnot. But you can trade like Bitcoin and other things for Surge directly now. So this opens up a lot of pathways, because prior to this, obviously, you could only trade Surge with Hive. You could buy from the sell wall using swap.hive, which means that the ability to buy Surge was actually very narrow. If you think about it, you needed to have Hive expertise, Hive-Engine expertise, and the ability to get Hive and then wrap it to swap.hive and then buy Surge with it. And now you can buy Surge with anything, like literally any crypto. So pretty incredible development from a usability standpoint. And the Surge, I'm just kind of going through the post, but the Surge USDC pool has already traded over $1,000 in the past day. And the APR on that is 273% for LPs. So if you want to make a little APR, feel free to jump into the Surge USDC pool. I already put some in there. By the way, the Leo USDC pool is paying like 2,000% APR. So the way we've structured the Leo USDC pool is actually the same as the Surge USDC pool. So basically, it's using a concentrated liquidity pool, which means you can provide liquidity in ticks. You're welcome to go look this up. I won't go too much into the details, because concentrated liquidity pools is like this whole rabbit hole that you're welcome to go down, but we could spend an entire hour just talking about it. And then the other part of it is that there's a 1% LP fee on every swap. What that means is every time someone trades Surge or trades Leo in these Uniswap V4 pools, there's a 1% fee that gets paid to the LPs. So if $100,000 gets traded, that's $1,000 in fees earned by the LPs. And it's earned proportionally based on how much liquidity you provide. And then also with the CLP setup, it's based on the ticks as well. So where your liquidity is getting used, essentially. There's a bunch of YouTube videos out there about CLPs. So just go watch some of those. And you can also ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT will help you understand them. With this kind of unique setup, this high LP fee and then the concentrated liquidity pool, what we've noticed, with the Leo USDC pool is that the APR for providing liquidity is super high. And the reason why is just sustainable trading volume. So since Leo exists on several chains at the same time, each chain has its own pricing dynamic, like Leo BNB, Leo Polygon, Leo Hive, and then you've obviously got Leo USDC, and then you've also got the Leo Cacao pool on Maya. Because all these pools are priced in a different asset, and then the USDC pool is priced in obviously USD. It creates a lot of discrepancy in the market, which is great for the market maker, which is also great for the LPs, because as all these pools change in volatility dynamics, the market maker is trading, LeoStrategy's market maker is trading between all the pools. And every time it does a trade, it pays 1% to all the LPs for the pleasure of doing the trade in that pool. So this has led to essentially a ton of fee revenue if you're an LP in Leo USDC. The Surge pool is new. It's obviously been live for like 12 hours now, but it already has a 270% APR. And I expect that it's probably going to grow as obviously trading volume picks up and the market kind of prices Surge accordingly and people trade in and around the peg. I actually think Surge could have really high trading volume in the long run, because if you think about it, there's a predictable dynamic to Surge that doesn't exist for something like Leo. So Leo is like a volatile asset. It's it can go up, it can go down. In theory, there's no actual peg for Leo, right? That it could be $10, it could be $1,000, it could be 10 cents. With Surge, it's got a floor price of $1, and then it's got a fixed yield of 15% at $1. So I know LeoStrategy keeps sharing this chart that they made, and it really illustrates this well. Let me see if I can actually just pull it up, because I'll do a better job explaining if it's in front of me. So this chart, and I'll share it in the Threadcast. So I'm sharing it in the Threadcast now. This chart shows you the Surge price and the effective yield and the profit to $1 when it eventually repegs itself. And obviously it's just a floor price, right? So it can go beyond $1. But $1 is the minimum price that Surge should be. So anyone selling Surge below $1 is selling it at a discount. If you buy it at that discount, you predictably know it will eventually go back to $1. That could take a day, it could take an hour, it could take a month, it could take a year. Hard to say, right? It's all driven by the market. But and I like to look at this chart and kind of look at the lower end of the spectrum. If you look at let's just take 70 cents for example. If Surge goes down to 70 cents, actually let's just take the current Surge price, because I think it is down a little bit. Surge is currently at 80 cents. If you take the current Surge price, which is 80 cents, the effective yield if you buy it at 80 cents is 18.75%. The reason why it's higher than 15% is because the Surge yield is fixed. So it pays 15 cents per one Surge per year paid out weekly. So if you buy something that's paying you 15%, but you pay less than $1 for it, then your effective yield is actually higher, because you take 0.15 and divide it by what you paid. So that's how you get effective yield. So at 80 cents per Surge, the effective yield is 18.75%. And at 80 cents, if you buy it for, let's say you buy one Surge at 80 cents, once Surge goes back to $1, which you predictably know it will at some point, you just don't know when it will, you will make 25% on the 80 cents you invested in the one Surge, because you bought one Surge for 80 cents and then you sold that one Surge for $1 in theory, when it hits the floor price again. So now you made 25% in terms of actual profit. And then while you waited for that 25%, you got paid an 18.75% effective yield. So you got paid a higher yield while waiting for a higher instant profit. So what this means is that Surge is a reflexive asset, and it trades like a rubber band. So as the price goes low, you could just picture a rubber band in your head and picture stepping on that rubber band, right? Or maybe a miniature person stepping on that rubber band. The more that they step on it, the more momentum builds up, so that when eventually they take their foot off, the rubber band shoots back up even faster. So Surge works in a very similar way. And think about the rubber band going down as being the price of Surge. So as the price goes down, it actually builds demand momentum. The more that it goes down, the bigger the momentum is. So as it goes down, the effective yield goes up, and the profit when it repegs to $1 also goes up. So that means that let's say Surge goes down to 70 cents, that would be a 21.4% effective yield and a 42% instant profit. So because it went down more, it increased demand even more. So the more it goes down, the higher the demand goes, and also the more reflexive the price becomes. So again, like a rubber band with momentum, it's the more violent it goes down, the more violent it will be when it goes back up, which means a higher profit and faster profit for anyone that buys it beneath the peg. So it's similar to imagine you had the opportunity to go out to the market and see that USDC is trading at 90 cents. well, you would go buy as much USDC as you could because you know that eventually it's going to go back to $1. Surge is very similar. It's not a stable coin though, so it's not pegged to $1. It's got a floor price of $1. So big difference there that Surge actually has upside, whereas most, obviously stable coins don't have an upside. But very similar dynamic where if you see it trading below the peg, it's like a no-brainer to just buy it, wait for it to repeg, and then either sell it or hold it for the yield if you want the yield. So I think this is a really interesting and important thing to understand. And I know, a lot of us have been talking about it. And I know Taskmaster made a video about it yesterday, just because I think more people need to understand how a reflexive asset actually works. And obviously now that Surge is live, I think we'll actually see it take place. And with it in front of you, it's probably going to make a lot more sense as time goes on. So that was talked about in this post. And then also they talked about how to bridge Surge between Hive-Engine and Base. So I've been playing around with that as well. You just have to do it manually for now. There's no UI for it. And then the cross-chain market maker is live. So that's made over $50, they said, in the last 12 hours. So that's pretty solid for a start. And obviously will grow with time. The Surge Leo pool is live. I think we kind of talked about that. So yeah, all the liquidity is deployed. If you want to sell your Surge that you bought, if you want to buy more Surge because you think the discount is good and you want to trade around this peg idea, you can do that as well. And then also Surge is live on LeoDex. So a lot of great Surge announcements. And I know that a lot of work went into this both on their end and then for us to add it to Leo. The good news is that now that we've done this, it will be a lot easier to add future products. So LSTR is going to go cross-chain in very much the same way that Surge did. And it will do it after Surge kind of stabilizes. So, now that Surge is live, I think it opens up the door for LSTR to go live. And then they also released this thing called a VIP whitelist. So I already signed up, and if you go to their blog post, it's at the end of it. But you can click the link and then fill out like a quick form, and then you can get added to their whitelist, which I guess will give you early access to the future launches and higher discounts. You need to hold at least 100 LSTR in order to get on there. And then you just share your Hive and your EVM address, and then they'll whitelist you, I guess, for future stuff. So pretty amazing. I'm very excited to see Surge kind of in the wild and doing its thing. Ahmad Manga said, do you get the effective yield for Surge you have in the pool? You get the effect. Yeah, you get yield based on your Surge side of the position, right? So if let's say you put 1,000 Surge and 1,000 USDC in the pool, you'll get paid effective yield on the 1,000 Surge that you've got. So yeah, just because you pool it doesn't mean it's not yours anymore. Is essentially how that works. So we got Mitch. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
You're good. I just was giving all the surging
all morning,
updates.
and then as soon as we try and do this call, I get phone calls that I have to take and things that I have to get done. Good times. Going through the threadcast, and obviously I see what you were just talking about in terms of surge and effective yield. Don't see any other questions outside of the surge.
Yeah, surge is the hot topic right now.
Which I wish I could have listened to that explanation, because I was just as curious. So there's just swapping Leo for using Leo there. Did you see Tess comment about having issues swapping Leo for USDC on LeoDex?
Yeah, that was resolved. So if you use Rango, we fixed that on our end. Maya is currently offline, like the whole protocol. They're doing a protocol upgrade. You can trade Leo with USDC using Rango or Relay. And if you're having issues, just make sure you refresh and it should be fixed.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been watching the LeoStrategy market makers because obviously you can see everything on chain, and they're just making a killing. So I mean, the market's super volatile, so makes a lot of sense that they're able to make a killing as the market's just seesawing everywhere. That is, volatility is vitality, right? Like that's what Michael Saylor has said about MicroStrategy, and I think LeoStrategy embodies it even better because I don't think MicroStrategy is actually out there market making. I think what they're actually doing is selling. They're essentially just issuing shares into volatility. LeoStrategy's market makers are actually market making the pairs across blockchains. And they have a unique moat because they have a whitelisted bridge fee. So they're able to market make in a way that is, with very little to no competition, essentially. So it's fascinating to see this strategy and see how it does, because not only are you market making Leo, but now as of yesterday and today, you're market making Surge. And then when LSTR goes live, you'll be market making LSTR as well. So now you've got Leo, Surge, LSTR all being market made, across chains with a moat around them that allows LeoStrategy to be very profitable from a like an organizational standpoint. And then all the profits are used to buy more Leo, which then adds more Leo to the balance sheet, which then makes LSTR more valuable because there's more Leo per share. And then it also over collateralizes Surge. So a lot of people wonder, well, how do you get a $1 floor price for Surge? Well, it's because Surge is collateralized by the Leo on the balance sheet, right? So you know that if there's a liquidation event, unlikely, but you know that if there is one, you'll get paid $1 per Surge you own. So you know that if you buy one Surge for 80 cents, you're going to get $1 for that Surge in the future, whether it's through the market or through a, unlikely liquidation. And for every single Leo that is added to LeoStrategy's balance sheet, the Surge itself becomes more and more over collateralized, which means that it's actually safer and safer to buy Surge as LeoStrategy is more profitable and acquires more Leo. And this goes for all future LeoStrategy products, right? So every single LeoStrategy product is collateralized by the Leo on the balance sheet. So the more that the Leo goes up in value in USD terms, alongside more Leo actually getting added itself, there is more collateral backing every single LeoStrategy asset. Now, if you actually think about the stack, you've got Leo at the base, right? Because Leo's like pristine collateral for everything. Then you've got LSTR, which is like the equity share of all the LeoStrategy, activities. So LSTR is like the beneficiary of LPS going up, Leo per share. And then you've got Surge, which is the first income instrument released by LeoStrategy, which is then collateralized by the base asset, which is Leo. So I know this is a lot to wrap your head around, but we're kind of seeing LeoStrategy building this like capital structure in a very fascinating way. And it's like step by step. Like you can literally, what I just get excited about is like you literally see it one step at a time, like a layered cake. Like you're just seeing it, one thing after another just gets layered on. And you can kind of picture, if this continues for the next 12 months and 24 months and 3 years and 5 years and 10 years, you can picture, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of LeoStrategy products, and they're all on this like vertical capital structure, and all of them have these market makers that are cross chain, and they're all making profits for the fund and then feeding more Leo onto the base balance sheet, which then allows it to expand the amount of products it has. So very fascinating. And I keep saying, because I obviously believe it, we are so early to this flywheel that's happening. This essentially layered vertical stack that just continues to expand in terms of like the Leo on the balance sheet keeps expanding, which then makes LSTR more valuable, which then over collateralizes Surge and future products even more, and then expands the ability for there to be more products in the future and for them to be bigger and bigger. And the bigger the products, the bigger the market making profits. The bigger the market making profits, the more Leo that can be bought and put on the balance sheet. The more Leo that gets bought, the higher the Leo USD value because there's more demand. So it's all very, reflexive. It all feeds into itself very well. Mod Manga said, wow, we get yield for pooled Surge. How does yield work on base? So yeah, if you pool Surge, like let's say you pool Surge USD, you'll earn the APR of the pool, which right now is 292%. And that APR comes entirely from the LP swap fees. The LP swap fee is 1%. So you get 1% on every single trade if you're in that LP. And then you also get the Surge yield for the Surge side. So if you have, like I said, if you have 1,000 Surge with 1,000 USDC as your LP position, you'll get 1,000 Surge worth of yield. So that would be $150 a year divided by 52 would be what you get every week. And the yield on base is paid as USDC. So all this stuff is in the LeoStrategy posts. So I recommend going through all those and reading them. Went on to said, I will definitely buy more Surge and Leo. My swap.hive got stuck on Hive-Engine. Yeah, Hive-Engine's been having a ton of issues for the past week. I guess this is good timing for Surge now that it's on base, because now, like I said, you can trade Surge with literally any crypto. So if you wanted Surge and you can't get it on Hive-Engine, now you can get it on LeoDex using any crypto through the Rango and Relay protocol integrations that we have. Salmi said, where can we find the contract address for Surge? LeoStrategy shared it in their blog post. Let me grab it really fast. Actually, if you just click on, here, I'll just share this link that they shared. Click on this Uniswap link. I just dropped it in the Threadcast. And you can see in the bottom right, it shows you the Surge contract address. See any good questions, Mitch?
I actually do have a question. So people that buy Surge on Hive-Engine, right? So now obviously, you can trade Surge on base. How does one get their Surge from Hive-Engine to be able to trade it on base?
So in their blog post, they put a little guide in there. It actually is a fork of the Leo bridge code, so it works the same. If you've ever bridged Leo between chains, it works the same way. So the Oracle account is at surge.oracle on Hive. And all you have to do is send Surge to that address with your EVM wallet address, like your 0x address in the memo. And then it bridges to Base. And then they show you also how to bridge back from Base if you want to come back to Hive-Engine. You have to actually interact with the contract directly. A little bit more complicated.
No need for that part. Never going
Yeah,
back.
right.
Never look back.
I shared a little screenshot of that section of their post in the Threadcast. But yeah, it's I know that they're working on a dashboard app. They've obviously shared a lot of teasers of that, and that will include bridging functionality. So hopefully soon you'll have a UI for bridging that's also the LeoStrategy dashboard UI. That should make it a lot easier. But yeah, in the meantime, you can do it manually, and they talked about how to do it in their post. I still see this, sir. I'm just tracking because you can see it pretty clearly on chain. But I just keep seeing LeoStrategy's market maker for Surge going after it. 3 trades in the last 15 minutes, and it made, what is that, about $1.70 in profit. So that's $1.70 that will be buying Leo.
Let the snowball begin.
Yeah, we are at the very beginning. Feels like we're on the top of the mountain. The snowball has been formed, and it's moved a few feet, and it's already gotten pretty big. And now we just get to see it continue to roll down the hill, and we'll see what happens. I'm fascinated by all this stuff. I think it's just super interesting. Essentially, what's being built is an entire derivatives market on top of Leo as the collateral asset. And you can go read actually LeoStrategy's 10 million plan is probably the best explanation I've seen so far of how this is all going to work, in the future. And they zoom out like 10 years and they say, well, what is this all going to look like, in 10 years? And when you start to wrap your head around it, I think it's really fascinating that Leo is the base asset. It's the collateral that then is used to launch product after product with varying levels of volatility that are driven by price dynamics that are, uncorrelated to each other. And then using that volatility, they're able to harvest it into market maker profits, which then buy more Leo and add it to the balance sheet and make LeoStrategy a profitable, enterprise. So LeoStrategy basically focuses on always being profitable, which means that they're always buying more Leo, which means that the assets that they release are always more collateralized by Leo on the balance sheet. So very fascinating. David Pina, yeah, everyone can access that. So click on the Uniswap link and you can go directly to it. It's a DEX, right? So it's an LP on the blockchain. But yeah, I mean, even if you throw a little bit in that pool, I mean, it's a 292% APR. So I don't know where it's going to be in the long run, but at 292%, I feel like it's pretty hard to go wrong. And then you're also earning the Surge side of yield. And the impermanent loss on Surge should be relatively low. I was kind of thinking about that the other day. Because Surge trades roughly around $1 until LSTR goes to $50, you kind of know that Surge should trade within like 75 cents to $1.25 is the way I see it. That's kind of the rough, like where Surge should be, at least, like I said, until LSTR starts going up, because Surge is loosely pegged to the LSTR price. So as LSTR goes up, Surge's intrinsic conversion value increases, which means that the price of Surge goes beyond $1. And then it's obviously got the $1 floor price. So I know there's a lot of math behind that, but again, I think if you take LeoStrategy's posts and you like feed them to Chat and then try to like game out what happens, ChatGPT is pretty good at explaining a lot of this stuff.
Did you see David Pena ask, can everyone access this? And with the screenshot, I'm assuming the answer is yes. What is that, the yield pool, whatever that's in that screenshot?
Yeah, that's the liquidity pool on Uniswap. Yeah, anyone can access that. So I dropped the link in the Threadcast. So click the 14 minutes ago, click the Uniswap link.
Yep,
And then,
app.uniswap.org.
Yep.
Cool.
If you swap though, make sure you swap on Leo. You obviously can swap on Uniswap too, but it's good for Leo if you swap on LeoDex.
Speaking of LeoDex, I mean, I gotta so I just use a key store that I have for LeoDex kind of from the jump, and that's what I've gotten used to using. But at this point, I mean, my MetaMask, I can connect to it that I've used on, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and so on over, whatever it is now, the years. Because even though I'm doing I have liquidity on pools on like PancakeSwap,
1 second,
I can easily swap on LeoDex as well, though, because normally where you are, you're gonna it's like, oh, I'm here, let me swap. But it's just as easy to connect where I could just pop into LeoDex and make that same swap, and then for what I need for the pools, and then add that liquidity on PancakeSwap, and then give that volume to LeoDex as opposed to PancakeSwap. The MetaMask piece, I think, is big in terms of that opportunity of volume. Nice. Ahmad Manga is testing the Surge USDC pool as we speak. That's awesome.
All right.
Brando said, would like to see Base and Leo Arbitrum contract addies and added on the Leo Discord's resource channel.
Yeah, we need to clean up the Discord a lot, I think. A lot of things we need.
That's funny. Ahmad Manga said, was planning on exiting Surge, but earning a weekly yield on top of the APR is too good to miss out on. You are not wrong, sir. Hindsight's 2020. Had I known that, I probably would have grabbed more Surge, knowing you can get yield on top of yield.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Surge is a very much, I guess there's different ways to look at it. Like if you just want to sit back and do nothing, Surge is a great way to just sit back, wait for LSTR to go beyond $50 and earn yield while you wait. Or if you want to be more active, you can trade around the peg. Also, this is going to be a whole other strategy that I'm sure people will learn about, and maybe Ahmad Manga is the right person to play around with it, is the concentrated liquidity pool can actually be used to pool Surge around various price bands. So like, for example, let's say Surge goes to 80 cents. Well, now you can pool primarily USDC in the Surge pool, and then it'll actually DCA you into Surge. And then you can wait for Surge to go back to $1, and then you can withdraw from the pool, and you'll have made the APR of holding Surge, the APR of the LP, and then also the price appreciation of Surge all at the same time. So there's a lot of strategy to that, a lot of game theory, and I'm sure people are going to find some interesting ways to take advantage of it and make profits from essentially just adding and withdrawing from the LP at the right times while earning yield on the Surge, while earning LP fees. So that'll be another fascinating thing that people can get rolling on. Very much an active thing though. So only do that if you're willing to be very active.
Is there, I mean, obviously I missed the first 5 minutes or so. Did you do updates, or are there any other updates lingering out there?
Yeah, I did some updates primarily on Surge. I feel like that's kind of top of mind for everyone. So I just kind of ran through the LeoStrategy post. Outside of that, we've been focused on LeoDex bug fixes. So we've been just fixing a bunch of stuff, working on the UX side of things, really just improving those and just, making a lot of positive changes in the direction of, LeoDex usability and user friendliness. So that's been the focus lately. Nothing super sexy in terms of updates and features. This is more like a cleanup of things. That's why for the last week, we released Perps, and that was a few weeks of just solid grinding to build something brand new from scratch. And then now it's time to kind of clean up the tech debt and improve the UX of everything. And I think we've probably got a few more days of that. And then from there, we're going to work on some new features, some new exciting stuff for Zcash, and then a few other kind of interesting protocol integrations that I'm excited for. So definitely follow the LeoDex X account and keep up with the updates there. We're going to have a lot of them. Right now, a lot of non-sexy, just cleaning things up changes. And then in a few days, you're going to start to see some new features get rolled out. This tends to be kind of the ebb and flow of Leo development in general is, we work really hard on some crazy outlandish feature that nobody expects. We release it, and then we do a lot of fixes and UX improvements around it. So that's very much our approach.
I think Solimi might be trying to get a job. You need to hire someone as a mod for Discord who really cares. Is that a pitch for becoming a mod? More quality mods are never a bad thing.
Yeah, the big thing I'm waiting for is Rafiki. So Rafiki is set to take over the Discord and be in charge of all that stuff.
Went on to ask, when we bridge our Surge Hive-Engine to Base, where and how do we receive our Surge yield on HE or Base or LeoDex? ?
So LeoStrategy's answered this, but if you have Surge on Hive-Engine, you get paid HBD or LSTR if you chose that option. If you have Surge on Base, you get paid USDC.
Which you can obviously... Where actually, that's interesting. Where do you access that? I mean, obviously, it just hits the wallet that you have connected.
Yeah, you just receive it to wherever your base is being held, you receive it to that wallet, right? Yeah. Nifty said you can still get Surge below $1 on HE. I don't think it'll last that long. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see, it's 81 cents. It kind of keeps fluctuating between 79 cents and 85 cents because I think what's happening is people are trading around the discount. And obviously, you have a lot of pre-sale buyers that are selling, and taking profits off the table, which is totally fine too. But what you have to keep in mind is that it's got that $1 floor price. So you kind of know, and I was talking about this at the beginning, you kind of know it's going to retrace to $1 at some point. The question is when. And I dropped this chart, so scroll back in the threadcast if you want to see it. But while you wait for the $1, if you buy surge below $1, you actually get a higher effective yield. So you're getting paid to just wait, essentially. And I really think Surge's tagline should be "Get paid to wait," because if you buy it below $1, you're getting paid to wait until it retraces to $1, and then you can either trade and make it a shorter term trade, or you can hold it and get paid to wait for LSTR to go over $50, in which case Surge will go beyond $1. So I think that's kind of a fascinating aspect of it. I'll be right back. Just give me one.
I think we got all the questions covered, although I don't know if Cal, we can ask when he gets back. I saw Task asked about Perps trading. Let's see if he's got any info, updates. Anyone know? I have no idea. Who knows how long it takes to bridge? I assume it wouldn't be that long to bridge the surge. But that is something that LeoStrategy would have to answer. Did you see that Task asked what Perps trading is looking like?
Yeah, for the Perps, we've done a lot of changes. So main thing was getting charts working. So essentially the API that we were using was very unstable. It still is. So we ended up building one from scratch. So the API for the charts on Perps was a fun thing to build, but it's fully live now. So you can see that the charts actually work. Whereas with the old API, they didn't work. And if you look at any other front ends, which there's only one, the charts are kind of fast and loose. They don't keep up with the market in real time. So in terms of how they look, we've done a lot of updates to make them more usable. And volume doesn't actually get separated by interface yet. So there's really no way to see how much the volume is, in terms of trades. But yeah, I know that they're working on that. So hopefully soon it'll separate out. And then, what we're doing now, and I've talked about this before, is refining that interface, and then we'll integrate other protocols. So like Hyperliquid and others will get added to the Perps front end.
Nice. There's some I feel like tactical questions in here in terms of performing functions. I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, you can. I think I might have to let you do that solo because I got to jump on a few things that are like literally burning a hole right now.
Yeah, I'm good for just a few more minutes and then we could call it.
Cool. All right, well, I'm gonna dip and let you answer these tactical questions. Amon Manga's trying to add to the Surge USDC pool, and it's giving him drama. So I don't know if you saw his question from a couple of minutes ago. And then so Ananda had a question in regards to Base and Key Store Wallet.
All right, yeah, I'll answer those and
nice. All right, cool.
Back next week.
Sorry, I wasn't able to be super present. Got to handle some stuff, but see you on the next one.
All good. We'll see you next week. Later, guys. Peace. All right. So where did he leave us off with? Wananda. So we need to create a Base account or Base linked to a key store. You can use Base with a key store. So if you have a key store already, just connect it. And then if you connect it to LeoDex, you'll see Base is an option there. Senor Coconut, you missed pretty much everything. We're almost done. But the recording will be up, so feel free to go back through it. Salmi said we need a crash course in Perps trading. Yeah, we'll work on that. I have wanted to do some videos, but really, that's what Leo's amazing for, right? Is that you guys can make tutorials, guides, put them out there, spread the word, and it's a community, right? So don't just wait for us to do it. Feel free to go dive in and get your hands dirty. You can throw as little as like 5, maybe 10. Is it? I'm trying to think of the minimum. It's either 5 or 10. You'd throw like $10 into Perps trading and, have a field day with just playing around with different positions. I'd love to see more people just kind of go do that and make guides about their experience. We really need more of it. See if you guys got a few more questions. I will roll through them and then we will call it a day. Yeah, happy to help. Happy to help, Wananda. Happy to help. Yeah, and one of the cool things about Surge and the way it's designed is like, if you don't want to mess with Base, you really don't need to, right? Like it's if you want to. So it's maximal optionality. Mess with it if you want, or just leave your Surge on HE and it'll just be the status quo. It's working exactly as it was 2 days ago. So I think that's kind of the cool part of what's been built here by LeoStrategy is you can kind of do whatever you want. And that's really their whole mission if you think about it. Like if you read the 10 million 10 million plan. The whole vision behind it is creating maximum optionality for the Leo community and the broader crypto space, and just being, if you want exposure to, leveraged upside of Leo, then you can buy LSTR. You can buy Leo if you want. You could buy Leo if you want and just hold the pristine base asset, which is Leo. If you want fixed income and limited downside, you can buy Surge. And then I know their 10 million plan talks about things like real world assets and more fixed income instruments that are coming in the future. So really, they're just giving a lot of different options for different risk profiles, different desirable outcomes. Maybe you want exposure to something like Apple stock, and I think LeoStrategy one day will be able to offer that to you. For example. So it's we're at the very beginning of a very long journey, and I think if you read that 10 million plan, you kind of see that 10-year vision come to fruition, which is over the next 10 years, we'll probably see hundreds, maybe thousands of products get released. And each of those products are going to be feeders into the Leo economy. And LeoStrategy is going to market make all of them, going to be a hyper profitable company, in terms of like a new style of company, really. If you think about, LeoStrategy is entirely on chain. It's, built by the community. It is almost like the best version of a decentralized organization that I could think of, right? So I think we're at the very beginning of something that is only going to grow and expand. Let's see here. I think I'm caught up. I don't know if you guys got anything else. Feel free to drop it in and I will answer it. I'll give it 3 more minutes. We got 117 right now. We'll go to 120. Quick update on the markets. Super seesaw everywhere. We obviously had the big crash. We were live. Were we live for that? Let's see. When was last Tuesday? October 7th. Yeah. The crash happened like the day after we were live. So yeah, we had the big crash, obviously 123 on Bitcoin down to 109. I know Mitch and I were talking about that pre-show, but the whole crypto market really crashed from everything that happened, on Friday. And, since then it's just really been kind of a whipsaw, but it's still at kind of the lower end of things. I mean, some alts have recovered relatively well, but most things are still at kind of the bottom end of that. Hive went down to like 3 cents at one point, but Leo has held very steadily. So Leo's actually up to 13 cents, which is higher than it was pre-crash, I believe. So not only has Leo held its price, it's actually gone up in price. So I think it shows that there's a lot of latent demand that's just kind of sitting there for Leo, not just because of LeoStrategy, but I just think in general, there's a lot of bullishness around LeoDex and the USDC rewards that you can earn there. And, just the innovations around LeoDex. And then you've obviously got the whole LeoStrategy economy that's being built out. But very fascinating to see all this stuff kind of take shape. I think one of the things I'm most excited for, I guess 2 things I'm very excited for on the LeoStrategy front, because this is kind of turned into a LeoStrategy centric AMA. But I'll leave you guys with this. What I'm most excited about for LeoStrategy is 2 things. The market makers on all these different products. So the more products that LeoStrategy has and the bigger that they are, the more successful that they are, the more that they can market make, the more profits that the fund can generate. The more the profits that it generates, the more Leo it buys off the market, which makes the Leo price higher, which makes the USD value of the balance sheet bigger, which then leads to more future products that are even bigger. And so that is like the flywheel, right, of the market makers. And then the other aspect that I'm excited about is the lending. So being able to put Leo collateral up as a loan, as loan collateral for LeoStrategy, and then taking a USD denominated loan against it, and then being able to do whatever you want, right? What LeoStrategy is bringing to the table is the tokenization, the financialization of everything. And I very firmly buy into that vision of what they're building. And I know that I joked about this earlier, but it does feel like we're at the top of the mountain where, the snowball has moved like a few feet and we're all excited to see what happens. And it's kind of hard to fathom, like, where does this go in the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years? And I think where it goes is, like I said, hundreds, then thousands of derivatives, and really a whole new market of products that are used, by the ecosystem and by, the expanding ecosystem, because there's more Leo holders now than there ever has been before. So the whole ecosystem expands. There's more people getting involved. There's more, assets floating around. There's more market maker profits. There's more lending, which is also profitable for LeoStrategy. And all those profits go to buy more Leo. And that more Leo on the balance sheet is worth exponentially more, both in terms of how much is there and in terms of the USD value of it, which then leads to even more products, and the snowball continues. So I think that the market makers and watching them succeed is going to be the most fascinating aspect of this right now. And then when the lending does come out, that's just going to be another hyper profitable product that LeoStrategy has in its suite. And then it also gives Leo holders, rather than like right now, if you want cash, essentially you stake your Leo and get USDC, or you have to sell your Leo and take a profit and get some money out. But what lending offers is a whole third option, which is, well, what if I don't want to sell the Leo, but the USDC rewards aren't enough for what I need? Maybe I need to make a big purchase or something and need the money like quickly in a larger amount, but I still don't want to sell. Lending is where that comes into play, where you could take out a stablecoin loan against your Leo. You pay an interest rate to LeoStrategy, so LeoStrategy is profitable from that loan, and then you essentially go out into the world and you have this stablecoin, right? And then when you're done, you pay back the stablecoin, you get your Leo back, and you're also supporting what I think it's even more interesting about this flywheel is you're also then supporting LeoStrategy, because by taking out the loan, you're giving them profits in the form of interest, the interest rate you pay, which then they use to buy more Leo, which then makes the collateral you deposited more valuable. So that one day when you pay back your stablecoin loan, you get your Leo back and it's worth even more than when you deposited it. So just like a fascinating circular economy that's being built here. And as it grows, I think we'll see if this thesis plays out and is correct. It's very hard to say at this point. It's one of those things where you just kind of have to see it in action. Everything's a theory, it's a hypothesis until it's live. But what we are seeing live is that Surge is now live on cross-chain. That was a hypothesis. The market maker has made like $50 in profit in the last 12 hours, they said. And as that matures, will that turn into $100 and even $1,000 a day in market maker profits? At $1,000 a day, that'd be $30,000 a month that LeoStrategy can buy more Leo with infinite accretion, because it's a zero cost of capital, right? So when you have profits, it costs you nothing to buy more Leo, which means that it's adding Leo to the balance sheet at a zero cost of acquisition, which is infinitely accretive for LSTR holders. I see LSTR is skyrocketing right now. It's at 520, up from like $4 yesterday. Pretty interesting to see how these prices play out. So Leo is approaching 15 cents again. LSTR is at 520. Surge is at 81 cents. Now we've got these three different projects, protocols, products, whatever you want to call them, that are out there in the world. And we can see how the pricing works, in the market. And all the volatility, by the way, is then harvested, flowing right back into Leo, which then makes LSTR more valuable because of the Leo per share, which then makes Surge more over collateralized because there's more Leo backing it. So again, very vertical stack, right? You've got Leo at the base of the stack, then you've got LSTR, benefiting from Leo per share, then you've got Surge benefiting from more overaction via the Leo on the balance sheet. So just a very interesting stack in the way that it's set up to it is literally set up to snowball, right? Like that is the whole point of it, is that it works very cohesively. Brando, this will be the last thing, and then I'll jump off. I have gold as collateral on Hyperliquid. Feel pretty comfortable borrowing against that if we get a big dip. RWA is going to be very interesting as well. Yeah, so I think real world assets by LeoStrategy is probably going to be, I think in the long run, it'll probably be one of the biggest things that they do, right? Like imagine that, like this vision that everything will be tokenized and on the blockchain. Now imagine that all of that stuff is driven by LeoStrategy, right? So you could have real estate, you could have bonds, you could have stocks, you can have anything. You could have gold, you could have silver. All of these things can be tokenized and put on chain by LeoStrategy and collateralized by the Leo on their balance sheet. And then they'll make them all cross-chain, which means that they can all be market made by the LeoStrategy market makers, which means that they're all profitable products, which then means that they're using all the profits to buy more Leo, which makes them more and more over collateralized, which then leads to the ability to expand into even more products. I think real world assets will be extremely interesting. I'm very fascinated to see how they model it out. I've seen some kind of early teasers and ideas behind how this might work. So I think the next product is probably going to be an RWA, because if you think about it, they did LSTR, which is the equity. Then they did, so LSTR had to come first, right? Then they did Surge, which is a fixed income yield product. So it's kind of logical to think that the next one will be something like an RWA, which is like a whole new category of product. And then as they release the different categories, then they'll go back and they'll say, okay, now it's time for another fixed income instrument. Now it's time for another RWA. But what I think will be next is going to be an RWA. And I think that that's going to be something fascinating to jump into. And especially because Leo and the crypto world is very global, having an RWA that's based, for example, on an equity is something that many people may not have access to, that LeoStrategy can then give them access to via a token. And then, maybe it'll have some other dynamics that make it even more desirable, like, a pre-sale discount or a yield. So imagine you can own something that maybe doesn't pay a dividend. For example, like I don't think NVIDIA stock pays a dividend. So imagine if you could own like NVIDIA stock on the blockchain, and not only is it tokenized and trading 24/7, it's also paying a dividend. Because LeoStrategy's model is that they can release these products and have dividends attached to them, or income attached to them, because they're able to market make them and be profitable around them. So then they're able to pay a yield on them. So I think if you can imagine an RWA that actually pays a yield where the real asset version doesn't pay a yield, well, now you're getting into something very interesting, which is I can not only own something like an NVIDIA stock, but I can actually own it and get a yield on it and trade it 24/7 because it never closes as a token, and have it cross-chain and have it collateralized by Leo. I mean, it's fascinating to imagine where this goes. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, I don't know where it goes exactly, but I have a rough idea of the next 10 years being, thousands of derivatives and assets. They're all collateralized by Leo. They're all released by LeoStrategy. They're all cross-chain, and they're all hyper profitable from the market makers. And that's kind of the vision that I'm buying into when it comes to LeoStrategy. And I think we're just, again, at the very, very beginning of this snowball. So Surge is now live on cross-chain. I think that's a moment we've all waited for. Now we get to see how this plays out, right? This has been a theory for a while that, hey, we can market make all these derivatives and we can make a profit. Then we can use that profit to buy more Leo, which will drive up the whole economy, which will then lead to more expansion and more products. That was a theory. And now it's becoming reality one step at a time. So when LSTR is live, on cross-chain, that'll be a third asset that LeoStrategy has market makers for. So now you've got, you started with Leo, now you've got Surge, and then you're going to have LSTR, and then who knows what comes next, but there will be a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth product, and all of them will be market made, and all of them will be driving profits to the fund and leading to more Leo expansion. So Leo's at like a $4 million market cap now. Let's check back in. I don't know. Someone set a reminder for like 3 years from now. Let's see where we're at. I would be hard pressed to imagine it's not $1 billion in market cap at a minimum. Strap in, have fun. Don't forget to have fun. That's really the point of all this. None of it is ever financial advice. It's only financial entertainment. Is someone I follow on YouTube always says that, and I find it kind of funny. So it's always financial entertainment. As long as you're having fun, who really cares? But I'm excited to see the tokenization of everything and to be kind of front row seated for it in terms of being a Leo holder, right? If you're a Leo holder, if you're an LSTR holder, you're sitting on the front row and you get to watch this show as it unfolds. Senior Coconut said, I swapped USDC on Arbitrum to base USDC for Surge. That's awesome. You probably can go directly from Arbitrum USDC to Surge, can't you? Let me see. Arbitrum USDC Surge. I'm on right now. Yeah, you can go straight from Arbitrum USDC to Surge. So, like I said, most, if not all, assets can actually be traded with Surge directly on Leo. So let me see if I can do a Bitcoin. Here's a Bitcoin swap. So obviously when you get to, bigger assets and things that have gas fees, you're going to end up paying gas fees on the transactions. But like, here's a Bitcoin to Surge. I'm sharing a USDC Arbitrum and a Bitcoin to Surge trade. So you don't even have to route like that. You can do whatever you'd like. Senior Coconut said, read it again. Oh, you swapped both to Surge. Got it. For anyone that didn't know, I misread what you said. I thought you said you swapped Arbitrum USDC to base so that you could then buy Surge. Yeah. No, you can trade any asset to Surge pretty much. This is the beauty of what's being built on LeoDex, right? It just you put in whatever asset you have and you put out whatever asset you want, and you get the best route for that that asset trade. So that is the goal of LeoDex, and you can kind of see it happening with Surge. Brando, one strategy I've been thinking about, if we could spot the cycle top, borrowing crypto, ETH, SOL, etc., could be a good idea when sold to stable is near the top. Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit about market timing, but there's definitely a lot of strategies behind vaults and whatnot. I've put out a lot of content in the past about my Bitcoin lending strategies. So I've done a lot of Bitcoin lending in my heyday. And I'm big on collateralized lending. It's a huge use case, and I'm very excited to see it happen for LeoStrategy and Leo as a token. I would love to throw some of my Leo into a vault and take out a loan against it. So hopefully soon. I don't know when that's coming. I've seen the UI teaser for it, so I think it's probably soonish. The more successful LeoStrategy is with each launch, the sooner and better lending will be. Wananda, yeah, go play with LeoDex. Senor Coconut said it works fast. Yeah, if you use Relay, it's like almost instant. It's kind of crazy how fast Relay is. If you use Rango, it's like also almost instant, but Relay is slightly faster. But Rango usually will get you a slightly better price, and it'll take maybe 20 seconds longer than Relay. So if you're willing to wait an extra 20, 30 seconds, then use Rango. If you want something super lightning fast, then I usually will use Relay. But that's all I got. Thanks, everybody. I will see you on next Tuesday, October 21st, for the AMA. Catch you later.